The moment a controlling person realizes they can no longer bend your spirit, they don't walk away, they launch their last, most desperate trick. You are listening because somewhere in your story, you met such a figure. Perhaps it looked like a friend who smiled at your wins while secretly shrinking them. Maybe it wore the face of a partner whose affection always carried a quiet threat, a punishment waiting behind every boundary you tried to set. Or it might have been a parent whose warmth could vanish the instant you stopped obeying the invisible rules of their fragility. This presence is what we often name the narcissist, yet that word is too small. I would rather call it a broken construction of the personality, a hollow statue built to hide a frightened self. It is a carefully staged mask, polished over years, covering a cavern that cannot tolerate being witnessed. When a person who lives from that mask senses that you are no longer easy to manage, when your inner life has become strong enough to step out of their choreography, they reach for one last maneuver of control, the ultimate reversal. Understand this with absolute clarity. The narcissistic structure survives not on its own vitality, but on what it extracts from others. It feeds on your attention, your worry, your admiration, even your fear. The subtle threads of your psyche, your projections, fantasies, hopes, and guilt become like cords tying you to their emptiness. You supply the electricity that keeps their theater lit. When you begin to pull those cords back into yourself, when you stop handing them the power to define who you are, they do not simply sigh and let you go. They panic. Your refusal to play the old role threatens the entire identity they have welded together. The mask begins to tremble. Beneath it waits not some grand, secret genius, but the ache of an unlived life. The abandoned inner child, the banished shadow they never had the courage to turn toward. It is precisely when you stand too grounded to be drawn back into their orbit that they reach for what I call the last trick. They flip the mirror. They step forward with righteous certainty and insist that you are the selfish one. You are the cold one. You are the cruel, ungrateful, heartless one. They hurl at you the very traits that have always lived in them, hoping you will once again carry their emotional trash as if it were your own. If you are not fully awake yet, this is the moment that can feel most confusing. You may lie in bed at night wondering, am I the abuser here? Is my strength just arrogance in disguise? Are my boundaries actually forms of violence? Is my refusal to submit simply proof that I am incapable of love? These questions sting because they touch old wounds. They echo every childhood moment in which love seemed to depend on your self-erasure. Here, right here, the great drama of becoming your true self begins to unfold. The narcissistic pattern shows up as a dark version of the trickster archetype. It pushes you into direct contact with your own shadow, with the parts of you that secretly dread being called selfish, with the guilt that rises whenever you choose yourself, with the terror of ending up alone if you stop rescuing everyone around you. If you refuse to play the obedient servant, their last trick becomes an unexpected spiritual furnace. It is a test that burns away illusions, a psychological fire in which false identities begin to crack. Only through walking through this heat does the deeper self start to step forward. Imagine for a moment a dream. In this dream, you stand inside a long corridor lined with warped glass. Each pane reflects a different version of you. Some images are glowing and beautiful. Others are stretched, twisted, almost monstrous. Some are so distorted that you barely recognize yourself. The narcissist stands beside you, pointing with theatrical disgust at the ugliest reflection. Look, they say. This is your real face. This is who you are. You are unkind. You are selfish. You are impossible to love. If you stay asleep inside that dream, you will bow your head. You will agree with the distorted image and accept their verdict on your soul. In that submission, their power returns. But if you wake up inside the dream, if you become lucid, you notice something radical. No single reflection shows your wholeness. Every image is only a fragment, a shadow, a partial echo. When you stop staring at the glass and turn your attention inward, you sense a presence untouched by distortion. A quiet center that remains luminous regardless of what any mirror says. This realization is not only psychological, it carries the flavor of the mystical. For the struggle with a narcissistic person is never just about them. It is also about an inner pattern that lives in you. The external figure is an actor playing the role of your inner tyrant, the critic in your head that insists you must endlessly please others to earn belonging, that punishes you whenever you assert yourself, that labels your strength as selfishness and your clarity as cruelty. Facing them means facing that hidden judge within. To refuse their last tactic is to begin quieting that inner persecutor. It is to place the crown of authority back onto your own head. Do not be distracted by their sudden tears, their dramatic confessions, the trembling voice that appears exactly when they sense you slipping away. These displays often look like vulnerability, but they are carefully rehearsed scenes from a script they have used on many stages. They do not cry because they feel the depth of truth. They cry because they feel the terror of losing supply. Their softness is bait designed to pull you back into the savior role. If you rush in to rescue them, you step willingly back into the cell you have just begun to leave. If instead you hold your ground, if you watch the performance without abandoning yourself, something powerful comes into view. Your strength unsettles them, not because it is cruel, but because it exposes their own weakness. They cannot bear the reflection of your integrity because it highlights the hollow spaces they refuse to enter. Hear this clearly. Every entrenched narcissist is like an alchemist who refused to finish the work. They encountered their pain, and instead of patiently integrating it, they hurled it onto others and built a kingdom of control to guard against it. Where you wrestle with your darkness to distill wisdom, they run from theirs and consign other people to carry it. But you are not meant to be their container. You are not required to drag around what never belonged to you. The transformation of your soul demands that you hand their shadow back to its rightful owner. Let them meet the emptiness they have been fleeing. This act is not cruelty, though they will scream that it is. It is the highest respect for your own dignity, and the first true respect you have ever offered to theirs, because it finally allows them the chance, whether they use it or not, to face themselves. As you grow steadier, their accusations tend to grow louder. They might attempt to stain your name, to rally others against you, to weave intricate stories in which you become the villain and they become the sainted sufferer. Do not be surprised when this happens. It is part of the pattern. What they are really trying to shatter is not your reputation, but your identity. If they can make you doubt who you are, you might once again bend to their will. This is the essence of the last trick, a battle for your own perception of yourself. Here you must hold a line deeper than any previous boundary. You whisper to yourself, I know my character. I know my intention. I refuse to wear the mask they hand me. I will not let their fear define my nature. At this point, a different archetype stirs within you, the hero, not in a grand cinematic way, but as the one who finally stops running from the truth. To say no to the narcissist is not merely to oppose a single person. It is to confront a pattern that may have haunted your family for generations. Many of you were conditioned in childhood to carry the shame your parents couldn't face, to accept guilt that never belonged to you, to live according to rules that served someone else's fragility. The narcissist you encounter later in life is often just a familiar tyrant in new clothing. When you refuse their final tactic, you are not only freeing yourself, you are interrupting an ancestral script. You are declaring, the pattern stops with me. This burden will not pass forward. In that sense, the encounter with such a person becomes a strange, sacred initiation. It is not random. It is a summons to awaken to the authority of the self, to face the deceiver archetype and walk out more whole. This process hurts. At times it feels like a psychological death, because pieces of the identity you built around pleasing, fixing, and enduring have to fall away. Yet that death makes space for a different birth. Only when the compliant, guilt-ridden self dissolves can the sovereign self, the one capable of both love and boundaries, step fully into the light. So I say to you, when someone driven by narcissistic hunger sees that you are too strong to puppeteer, do not fear their last manipulative storm. Recognize it. Watch it like the final act of a play whose ending you already know. It is the collapse of an illusion, the frantic clutching of a mask that cannot survive real sunlight. Hold your position in what you know to be true. Let their words fall like shadows on the ground, unable to touch your core. Remember that in this moment, you are not merely resisting a person, you are participating in the ancient work of integrating shadow, claiming selfhood, and freeing the human spirit one soul at a time. The soul often shakes when it first starts to see clearly. For so long, you may have been trapped inside the maze of their charm, their dominance, their half-hidden threats, their needs dressed up as love. They learn your wounds like a map. They discover exactly where to press so you flinch, exactly which phrase will stir your buried shame, exactly how to position themselves at the center of your secret longing to be chosen. This is not wisdom. It is a predatory instinct honed by fear of their own emptiness. And yet, when you awaken and step into your own authority, they sense the shift like a sudden change in weather. Their power no longer works the way it used to. So they call upon their last resort, the reversal of roles. They rewrite the entire story of the relationship, casting themselves as the wounded innocent and you as the heartless aggressor. They may portray themselves as the abandoned child while painting you as the uncaring parent. They may describe themselves as the loyal lover while tagging you as the betrayer. They may insist that they are the morally upright one and you are the unstable, dangerous sinner. And if you have not yet met, understood, and soothed the parts of yourself that fear being cruel, being selfish, or being unlovable, you may find yourself tangled again in their net of projection. You will want to defend yourself. You will want to explain your heart, clarify your history, prove your innocence. But notice what happens the moment you join that argument on their terms. Every explanation feeds the trap. By agreeing to debate your goodness inside their story, you are already accepting that their story is the frame, the only way to resist. This reversal is to wake up to a deeper truth. You are larger than any story they tell about you. You are like a dreamer who realizes within the dream, this is a dream. To keep arguing with them inside that dream is to stay asleep. To awaken is to step outside the entire script and see their accusations not as revelations about your nature, but as echoes of their unclaimed shadow. Consider another old pattern in human history, the figure chosen to carry the community's unresolved fear and shame. We have called it the scapegoat. Again and again, groups have loaded their unspoken guilt onto a single person, then cast that person out, pretending the exile has purified them. The same archetype plays out on a smaller stage with the narcissistic personality. When you refuse to carry their darkness any longer, they select you as the one to blame. They condemn, exile, smear. But notice this, the one chosen to bear the projection is never chosen because they are weak. They are chosen because, on some level, they are strong enough to survive it. The task before you is not to keep holding what is not yours. It is to recognize the deeper invitation, to step out of the shared lie and into the freedom of becoming fully yourself. Do not underestimate how difficult this path can feel. The accusations of a narcissist awaken every dormant fear inside you. If you were called selfish when you tried to speak up as a child, their words now will slice with eerie familiarity. If you were shamed for wanting independence, their charges of cruelty will resonate in your bones. It can feel as if they own the keys to your oldest wounds and know exactly how to turn them. Here lies the paradox. They are both tormentor and unintentional teacher. By facing their manipulation, you are forced to confront the very shadows you might otherwise have avoided for an entire lifetime. You are pushed to examine the quiet guilt that has lived in you for years, to bring it into awareness, and to test it against the reality of who you have become. This is psychological alchemy. The narcissist becomes the furnace in which the base metals of shame and people-pleasing are refined into the gold of sovereignty. They push you to decide, again and again, whether you will live as a prisoner of projections or as the author of your own life. This is not a single decision made once and forgotten. Their tactics come in waves. Sometimes they attack. Sometimes they seduce. Sometimes they collapse into apparent helplessness. Each mask is a question. Will you go back to the old role? Or will you stay rooted in yourself? What then is the truth behind all of this theater? The truth is that beneath the performance, the narcissistic structure is terrified. Their inner world is like a gallery filled only with reflections, with no solid object at the center. They have built their entire identity out of borrowed energy. To lose you is to lose one of the pillars holding up their sense of self. They would rather destroy the relationship than meet themselves in honest silence. So they use the last trick as a shield against the unbearable quiet of their own soul. When you see this clearly, something softens inside you. A different compassion appears, not the naive compassion that rushes back in to fix them, but a wiser compassion that understands the tragedy of a person who will not turn inward. You recognize that they are jailed by their own shadow, chained not by your strength, but by their refusal to face their pain. You do not hate them. Hatred would still tie you to them. You do not rescue them. That would pull you back into the cell. You simply stand in what is true and allow them to meet the consequences of their choices. This, perhaps, is the hardest act of all, to witness another's suffering without making it your job to carry it. In doing so, you embody the archetype of the centered self. You are no longer the child begging for approval, no longer the partner pleading to be seen, no longer the designated carrier of everyone else's sins. You become the sovereign axis around which your own life can finally revolve. The narcissist senses this immediately, and it unsettles them more than any angry outburst ever could. They cannot manipulate someone who stands anchored in their own being. Their final tactic collapses like a stage play when the audience stops believing in the story. The masks drop. The emptiness behind them shows through. Yet this is not truly the end. The external person may fade from your life, but the inner pattern they awakened remains. You may still hear their voice echoing inside your mind, questioning your choices, stirring guilt, whispering doubt. This is the internalized narcissist, the inner tyrant formed from years of conditioning. Here begins the deeper phase of the work. You now must face not only the outer figure, but the inner architecture that once allowed their control. You are invited to examine the unspoken deals you made, the ways you traded authenticity for safety, truth for belonging, boundaries for the illusion of harmony, your fear of abandonment, your hunger for approval. These are the roots that must be gently dug up if the tree of your freedom is to grow strong. The battleground shifts inward. Each time the inner critic speaks, pause and ask, is this voice aligned with the reality of who I am now? Or is it an echo from a past where I had no power? Each time guilt arises, question whether it belongs to this moment or to a story you have already outgrown. Every time you feel tempted to over-explain, to defend, to justify, recognize that you are being invited back into the dream of reversal. Then, with patience, bring your attention back to your center dot. This is the heart of individuation, the process of becoming a whole, integrated self. It is not enough to leave the narcissist orbit in the outer world. You must also loosen their grip on your inner world. When this work has deepened, when you have walked through the fire and discovered gold in your own hands, you may suddenly realize something astonishing. The narcissist was never your ultimate enemy. They were a messenger of the parts of your power you had not yet claimed. By resisting them, you have not only freed yourself from their control, You have awakened to the vastness of your own soul. After the storm, there is a quiet that can feel more disorienting than the chaos ever did. When their tactics no longer hook you, when their last manipulation crumbles in the face of your clarity, they retreat into a silence that echoes. You are left standing in a strange combination of victory and grief-free at last, yet stripped of the drama that once shaped your days. The emptiness of honest freedom can feel unnervingly wide at first. The psyche, especially one raised in turmoil, often longs for what is familiar, even if the familiar has been poisonous. Life without manipulation can feel oddly flat to someone who has been sculpted by it since childhood. You may find yourself missing the intensity, the high-voltage fights, the intoxicating rush of being desperately needed, even if only as an emotional target. You might dream about them, not as they truly were, but as the idealized version you once projected onto them. In those dreams, a voice from the shadows may whisper, "Go back to what you know. Go back to the old cycle." That whisper coming from inside you is more dangerous than any accusation they ever spoke. It is the part of you still in love with the familiar cage. At this threshold, an old myth offers guidance. The story of Orpheus. He descended into the realm of the dead to bring back his beloved. The gods allowed her to follow him on one condition: he must keep walking toward the surface without looking back. In the final stretch, overcome by doubt and longing, he turned, and in that moment, she faded into the dark forever. The narcissist, in a sense, represents your own entanglement with the underworld of unhealed patterns. When you turn back, you romanticize the relationship, deny the harm, or re-enter the cycle, you do not truly rescue them. You simply lose yourself again. The work now is to keep moving toward the light of your unfolding self, even while the memories call out from behind. This stage of the journey asks for a certain holy loneliness. It is the solitude of one who is no longer willing to be defined by someone else's distorted perception. The final manipulation attempts to chain you through narrative. They write a story and cast you in a role. To be free is to write your own narrative and to withstand the misunderstanding of those still enchanted by the old script. They may turn friends or family against you. They may wield community as a weapon. But individuation, the becoming of who you truly are, has always required the courage to step away from the herd. Do not underestimate how deeply this kind of manipulation wounds. It is not just an insult. It is an assault on your sense of what is real. Gaslighting, in contemporary language, is the attempt to convince you that your perception itself cannot be trusted. When direct control fails, the narcissist seeks to erode your confidence in your own mind. They murmur that your memory is flawed. Your feelings are wrong. Your conclusions are proof of madness. This is psychological warfare, and at times can feel like an archetypal possession, as if chaos itself has entered the room. To withstand this, you must anchor yourself not in their voice, not even primarily in the approval of others, but in a deeper knowing. The self communicates not through shouting arguments, but through quiet certainties. It speaks in dreams, in subtle coincidences, in that clear inner resonance that needs no defense. As you learn to trust this inner compass, you become far less movable. Their accusations crash against you like waves against a cliff. You feel the spray, but the rock does not relocate. In that stillness, the internal characters rearrange themselves. Where once the scared inner child steered your life, desperate for love at any cost, now a wiser inner elder begins to rise, carrying a lantern of discernment. Where once the martyr in you pushed you to sacrifice everything for their comfort, now a fierce inner warrior stands at the edges of your soul, guarding what is sacred. Where once the trickster archetype, embodied in them, dominated the stage with confusion, now the deeper self slowly reveals itself as the unmoving center, the quiet axis around which your psyche can finally orbit in balance. This is the birth of wholeness, and it often arrives only after you have seen the last manipulation clearly and endured it. without collapsing back into the old contract. Yet one more caution is needed. If you turn the narcissistic person into a pure monster in your mind, you risk missing the lesson entirely. Even in their darkest maneuvers, they inadvertently serve a function. They bring you to the frontier of your unconscious, to the exact edge where your buried wounds and unrealized strength meet. From that edge, you are given a choice: repeat the cycle, or step into a new life. Near the end of this journey, I invite you to do something gentle yet radical. Place a hand over your heart. Take a breath. Acknowledge without minimizing what you have survived and what you have learned. Then say quietly, I choose truth over illusion. One, choose self-respect over control. I choose love that does not require me to disappear. If this exploration has resonated with you, let it be more than a passing insight. Share it with the parts of you that still doubt, and with anyone who might need these words. And before you go, tap the like button so this work reaches more people. And stay close to this space, especially here on Winds of Thought and the Mind Alchemy channel, where we continue turning pain into awareness and awareness into freedom.